Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the people show, ladies and gentlemen, where we check the pulse of Husker Nation. Brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, carrikerchronicles.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. It's just science. We beat Wisconsin, got over that stupid drought. Bowl eligible over that stupid drought. Won a game in November over that stupid whatever you want to call it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most I get to talk about a win. If you're like me and you're excited, I get to talk about a win. Being bowl eligible. Dylan Raiola looking freaking like Dylan Raiola again. Then smash that like button. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most excited I've been to do a gut reaction in a very long time. As always, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we're putting out here on the Carriker Chronicles. Last week was freaking loaded. Interviewed Tom Osborne, Charlie McBride, Dawson Merritt. Broke some news as well. All right, and as always, my Sunday night show will go out on Sunday, 6 p.m. Central Time on YouTube, 7 p.m. on the medias of the social variety. This was week 2 of Dana Holgorsen calling plays. Tight ends coach Nate Letton, I think is how you say it, was calling plays for Wisconsin. So unlike what I was saying all week on the Adam Carriker show, we know who it is. That's not Casper, because I said their play caller may or may not exist, so I was calling him Casper. All right, as going into the game, Dylan Raiola led all true, and he still does, leads all true freshmen with 2,112 passing yards going into the Wisconsin game. Matt Rule. Now, if you notice, before the game, if you watch the team as they come on the field, whether you're in the stadium or watching on TV, he never leads the team on the field. He didn't do it much at Baylor. He didn't do it much at Temple. He wants it to be about the players. Check it out. Watch for this before the Iowa game. He wants somebody else. It's usually Corey Campbell, Nebraska strength and conditioning coach, that leads them onto the field, which I find to be rather symbolic as well. All right. Opening kickoff return. Ja'Cory Barney. What a concept. Ja'Cory Barney returning kicks, returning punts. I freaking love it. Returned at 45 yards out to near midfield. I wish we'd been doing this all season, but hey, better late than freaking never, right? All right, Dylan Raiola coming into this game, completed 65% of his passes, 211 pass yards per game, 11 passing touchdowns on the season, 10 INTs, and he'd been hit 26 hits taken, which was 30th in the FBS. Now, and Huskers march right down the field with a big dose of Emmett Johnson. Finally, we were doing some things with some of these players that I've been kind of talking about all year. All right, a couple of quick, decisive throws by Dylan Raiola, and Heinrich Harburg runs the read option for a touchdown deep in the red zone into the end zone. Nebraska leads 7-0. The drive was 55 yards, 6 plays, 3 runs, 3 passes, great balance on offense. This was Harburg's first touchdown run since November 11th of last year versus Michigan State. It was a very efficient first drive with quick passes featuring Ja'Cory as the returner leading into the drive, but Emmett as the running back and Harburg in the red zone, which was appropriate. All right, what a concept I wrote. They finally listened to me, what I've been saying all year. I forgot I wrote that. By the way, I forgot about my good buddy. I'm not a big fan of cats. No offense if you like cats. I'm not a big fan of Garfield. Big, fat, lazy. Nobody likes Mondays, but I like pasta like him. But this is the kitten version. Mostly, I lost and we're decorating our house for Christmas before Black Friday, which is what I would prefer, but that's okay. Kitty Cat Garfield is joining me. Nebraska won. It's a great day, ladies and gentlemen. All right, unfortunately, Wisconsin responds with a TD drive of their own, 6 plays, 82 yards, which featured a 42-yard catch. All right, on a basic 5-yard slant, honestly. Really bad tackling on this. Our second, lot to be excited about. Physical trenches. O-line dominated. Shout out to the O-line. D-line played really, really well. Ty Robinson is a man-child. All right, special teams looks much better. Has Ed Foley saved his job? Kudos to Ed Foley on the improvement. Our secondary. Holy Moses Malone, we got to get better there. All right, 5-yard slant turns into a 42-yard gain. All right, they score. Both teams score on their opening drive. And just like everyone expected, the shootout is on. Did you see a shootout coming? I didn't see a shootout coming. Who saw a shootout coming? I love Dana Holgorsen. All right, Huskers next drive, punt. Raiola missed an open Ja'Cory Barney. Just missed the read on 3rd down. He was under heavy pressure Now, Raiola coming into the game led Big Ten quarterbacks with 6 interceptions when he's under pressure. That's what they're trying to do to the young quarterback. That makes a lot of sense to me. You try to get after the young quarterback, confuse him, make him do things quicker than he's used to. Not a shocking number for a young guy, as I wrote. Hopefully he'll continue to improve, and it was great to see him looking like he did the first 3.5 games of the season again today. The first 3.5 games up to halftime at Illinois. That was his best play of the year, and he looked like that once again today. All right. Dana Holgorsen did say he's incredibly impressed by Raiola's IQ, especially at, such a young age, still being a teenager. Buschini punched the ball, had a great day when he was asked to be on the field. He wasn't out there much, thank goodness. But he punted at 52 yards. Badgers get the ball there on 29-yard line. The Huskers force a punt after Javin Wright gets a pass breakup, a PBU on 3rd down. I should mention that Ja'Cory Barney set a single-season record for receptions in the first quarter here by a true freshman with 41 catches so far this year. Nebraska's next drive, it was an underhanded pass to Janiran Bonner. It didn't look like he was ready for the pass, honestly. All right, a big hit was put on him by the Badgers, forced a fumble, recovered by Wisconsin. They start their drive with a very short field. The Blackshirts forced a field goal. Ty Robinson getting pressure on Wisconsin's quarterback. Now, Wisconsin's got one of the best O-lines in the Big Ten. You wouldn't know it today with all due respect. But you wouldn't know it today. But they were the 3rd best in the conference when it came to pressure rate allowed. Ty Robinson said, couldn't care less all day long. All right, and I loved when he went in at fullback later in the game. I'm jumping ahead here. And just laid the wood to Wisconsin's defender. All right, that was phenomenal. Love that. He's just a football player. Wisconsin misses a 34-yard field goal. Wisconsin's kicker, that was his 3rd miss this year, between 30 to 39 yards in that range. He's 11 of 16, including that kick at that point in time on his field goal attempts this year. The Huskers get the ball. Now, I should mention, Dana Holgorsen loves using split backs. It really threats and stresses the defense in a different, unique way, something he's used in the past. Did it here today with Nebraska as well. Now, I noted Nebraska's moving much quicker on offense so far. Much more purpose, much more a sense of urgency. You don't have to hurry, but you go quick. All right, it's called a sense of urgency. You're moving quick with a sense of purpose. We call it a sense of urgency. All right, Raiola hits Emmett Johnson in the flat for a chunk yardage play. Basically, he was lined up in split backs. He just simply went to the flat. Wisconsin's defense looked a little confused. A little flat route turned into a pretty big play. And I said, I don't know how this game will end. This was early on. Keep in mind, I didn't know we were going to drop 44 points. But at this point, in the first quarter, I said, I feel like we're finally doing things we should have been doing all year long. Getting Harburg into the game at certain points in times and sneaking him in and using him, all right, multiple times. Getting Emmett Johnson the ball more often, putting Ja'Cory Barney in spots and places where his talent can be utilized. Things we should have been doing all year long. We're finally doing them. All right, Huskers go right down the field and score on a 12-yard touchdown run from Dante Dowdell, who ran like a big back today. He hadn't done that in a while. He ran like a big, powerful, 6'2", 220-pound back today. Those Badgers didn't want none when he was coming down here on the power play. 3 TD runs he had today, plus some pretty good blocking up front. Shout out to the big boys. Shout out to the O-line. All right. When I talked to the team at practice, I was like, I see athletes out wide, and I see big MFers up front. All right. We finally saw big MFers play like big MFers today. All right. Dowdell ran the ball straight, with straight-up veracity is what I wrote, and the O-line blocked great, exclamation point. Let me repeat that. All right. The right side of the O-line blocked really well. All right. And Dowdell's touchdown run was set up by a really good block by a wide receiver, Jamal Banks. Shout out to Jamal Banks. Hey, if you're going to call people out when they're not doing a good job, you got to show them love and call them out when they do a good job as well. All right. This was set up by a 5-yard run from Harburg. And wait for it, a screen pass of 27 yards to Emmett Johnson and a shovel pass of 21 yards to Ja'Cory Barney. Screen pass alert, ladies and gentlemen. When used appropriately and blocking is applied, they can work. All right, backup guard Micah Mazuka spiked the ball. 15-yard celebration penalty. Badgers' next drive starts with good field position. Should mention the relationship between former Badger OC Phil Longo and head coach Lou Fickell got quite contentious, which is why the change was made on Sunday for the Badgers. Next touchdown drive, 8 plays, 80 yards. All right, for the Huskers, Nebraska, their touchdown drive. The Huskers have 132 yards of total offense in the first quarter. All right, again, the Badgers get good starting field position. The Wisconsin 30, they have a 32-yard drive on 7 plays due to the spiking the ball, excessive celebration penalty. They only had to go 32 yards on 7 plays, made a 33-yard field goal. They were 1 of 3 on the day, field goal kicking-wise. Thank you for that. Nebraska leads 14-10. On a side note, as we know, coming into the game, Wisconsin was 5-5, Nebraska was 5-5. Both teams trying to become bowl eligible. But think about this, because that's not the breaking news. This isn't breaking news, but think about this. Over the last 7 years, Wisconsin has had 105 bowl practices. Nebraska has had 0 bowl practices. That's going to change this year, but just think about that. Holy crap. All right. Nebraska's next drive, punt. Brian Buscini pins the Badgers inside their own 5-yard line to start their next drive. Again, he played well today the few times he needed to come on the field. In fact, this may have been the last time he was on the field. Wisconsin quarterback Braden Locke, who was much maligned by Husker fans. He looks good, looks decisive, the best he's looked in a month. Badger fans wanted him benched. Coming in, he had 8 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. If you don't have a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, that's not good. All right, like you look at Ohio State starting quarterback, Curtis Rourke starting quarterback, and I know Ohio State thumped Indiana today, but they were both 5-to-1 coming into their games today when it came to touchdown to INT ratio before they played Indiana versus Ohio State today. Anyways, Braden Locke looks good so far today. Wisconsin, 2 plays, 20 yards, 2 plays of 20-plus yards so far on the day. Nebraska has 3 plays of 20 yards or more, otherwise known as explosive plays. All right, the Badgers drive down the field and convert a couple of 3rd downs. Our defensive secondary looks a little bit out of sync again. All right, Tony White, and I mentioned it in my gut reaction. I saw it in the game last week, and then Tony White mentioned it throughout the week. I love Tony. He does a great job of taking accountability, trying to make adjustments. Just love the guy. He's a good coach. Got to get the secondary figured out. But he talked about, hey, we had 2 safeties running 2 different coverages in our game last week. I talked with Charlie McBride early this week. Go back and check out that interview if you haven't seen it. He talked about, hey, there's all sorts of slants and stunts and adjustments that linebackers will yell to D linemen, okay? We're getting ready to get double teamed by 330-pound guys, 660 pounds. So, yeah, yell stuff at us that we need to do at the last minute. But it's possible because it's simple. The linebackers are right there. They would call audibles for the linebackers based on what the offense was doing, but they wouldn't mess with the secondary. They would have audibles for the other 7, 8 guys on the field, but they would not mess with the secondary. We've got to get on the same page on the secondary. All right, let's see. I lost my spot here. Defensive secondary, a little bit out of sync. So much positive out of this game. So much positive. All right, Wisconsin attempts a 41-yard field goal after a couple of big passes were completed. Pulled it badly to the left. Luke Fickell looks like he's about to lose his mind. I wrote Nebraska's next drive, very efficient. Great run-to-pass ratio. Raiola looks like he did early on in the season. The Huskers go 76 yards, 10 plays. Raiola hits Jamal Banks to the back of the end zone for a touchdown. That was after he hit Isaiah Nayor for what was arguably a touchdown, but they reviewed it, said no. All right, Memorial Stadium is amped. You could just feel it building. You could just feel it building. Nebraska leads 21-10 as the game went along. It was just building. All right, Wisconsin's first player of the next drive, fumble by Tawi Walker. The Wisconsin running back, Dylan Raiola, hits Ja'Cory Barney for a 12-yard gain. John Hull hits a field goal for 37 yards. Nebraska leads 24-10 at halftime. Before I get into some of my observations, halftime in the second half, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DPS Concrete Construction. Ladies and gentlemen, Garfield agrees. They are your local concrete experts. Omaha, Lincoln, the state of Nebraska. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. If you want this type of work done, they're the ones to do it. If this is the type of work you do, Jason Armstrong, who owns the company, is the guy you want to work for, dpsconstruction.net. Also, Allen Capital Group. I randomly ran into Mark Allen today just walking around before the game, tailgate. Him and I chatted. I'll tell you what, every time I'm around him, I see how smart he is. He's a good dude. The company is phenomenal. They've been doing my family's finances for over a decade. Nothing puts your mind at ease. Knowing that your finances are in the hands of intelligent people and people with high character who are going to do what's best for you and your family. Check them out at allencapgroup.com. That's ALLENCAP group.com. Allen Capital Group, next level solutions for next level needs. They have locations in Omaha, Grand Island, and Ogallala as well. Ladies and gentlemen, halftime notes. Haven't seen much of Thomas Fidone since the second drive of the game. He had a false start, okay? I think they're holding people to a standard. All right, but Lindenmeyer, who at this point had played quite a bit, you saw Borkashire later on in the game, all right, was blocking well. All right, points off turnovers have killed Wisconsin throughout this year. Our defense seemed to have calmed down a little bit, at least at this point in the game. That's what I noted at halftime. The Huskers scored 10 points in 15 seconds right before the first half closed out. Here are some first half stats I thought were interesting. Nebraska had 14 first downs, Wisconsin 8. Third down efficiency, Nebraska was at a 50% conversion rate, Wisconsin at 33% total yards. Nebraska had 237 total yards in the first half, Wisconsin 205. All right, rushing yards, we were averaging 6 yards per carry before Dana Holgorsen took over. 4.8 at USC, 6 yards per carry in the first half. The previous 4 games, 2.8 yards per carry. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Wisconsin was at 3.7 yards per carry in the first half. Dylan Raiola was completing 77% of his passes, the highest rate he's had at least since September, but I'll double check this, maybe the whole year. All right, Dana Holgorsen may be the best thing to happen to Dylan Raiola and Nebraska's offense in a long, long time. Maybe since Osborne, started running that option. But I digress. Let's see how the second half goes. And I wrote this. That was the Huskers' best half of football since the first half of the Colorado game. Better than the second half of Purdue. If you remember that game, the first half was, well, I digress. Nebraska trying to become bowl eligible for the first time since 2016. Wisconsin trying to become bowl eligible for the 23rd straight season. Wisconsin's first drive in the second half goes nowhere. They have a 3-and-out. A punt returned by Ja'Cory Barney. All right, let's see. Huskers' first drive after Ja'Cory with the return. Very nice drive, 9 plays, 46 yards, featuring RPO throws by Dylan Raiola. He nicely changed his arm angle several times, all right, to get around defenders that were either rushing or in his way to make some nice throws, and some good RPO runs by Emmett Johnson. And I love the way Dante Dowdell ran today, but I wonder if either Emmett or Ja'Cory, who was the offensive player that Holgorsen discovered this week? All right, I don't know. Maybe he'll tell us. On one of the runs, there was a trips formation to the left with the power play. The power run came back to the right. I thought that was nice. The drive capped off by a 45-yard field goal by John Hull, who's now made 7 field goals in a row. We make field goals now. Huskers lead 27-10 with 11:10 left in the third quarter. Emmett Johnson, 70 yards rushing so far, 4 catches, 39 yards. The Huskers have 170 yards on the ground so far. The Badgers, almost about half that, 55 yards rushing to this point in the game. Ty Robinson having a great game. Meanwhile, Wisconsin's D-line doesn't have a single tackle for loss so far on the contest. The Badgers' next drive leads to a 4th and 2 on the Nebraska 25-yard line, and the Huskers' defense just smothered Wisconsin to stop them on 4th down. Our defensive line is dominating up front. The Huskers proceed to march the next possession, 74 yards, 7 plays, and cap the drive with another Dante Dowdell touchdown run. Our O-line is dominating up front. We are dominating in the trenches on offense and defense against Wisconsin, I might add. Something is different on senior day for Nebraska's offense. Thank you, Dana Holgorsen. Huskers are dominating 34-10. Now, Wisconsin didn't fold. They didn't give up, and they didn't go away. So credit to them. 3:07 left in the third quarter. Oh, I noted, we need to pay Dana Holgorsen whatever he needs to be paid to keep him here. I will say this, Houston's still paying him too. I don't care. Double pay the guy. All right, Holgorsen has the Badgers on their heels, getting the ball to our playmakers. Dylan Raiola is playing fast and furious again. Wisconsin's next drive, Brandon Lockey, Wisconsin's quarterback, still playing well, leads the Badgers on a touchdown drive with a TD pass of 24 yards to Bryson Green. Score, Nebraska 34, Wisconsin 17. Now, I did note, should Luke Fickell have gone for 2 to get the lead down to 16 points at this point in the game? That's their problem, not ours. John Bullock applying consistent pressure when he blitzes. He clearly had the Badgers snap count down. I wrote, don't tell them they should change that. That's their problem. Again, not ours. That was the Badgers' 6th trip inside the Huskers' 30-yard line, and only the 2nd time they'd come away with points on their last drive where they scored. All right, start the 4th quarter. Let's see what happens. Nebraska's offense is facing the 3rd best defense, statistically anyways, that they've faced all year. And Wisconsin we're going through them like a hot knife through butter. Let's see what happens this fourth quarter. The Huskers' next drive, 74 yards, 7 plays, make a field goal. John Hall, 3 of 3 on the day. All right, the score, good guys, 37. The other guys, 17 with 10:52 left in the fourth quarter. This has become the Emmett Johnson game. All right, Emmett Johnson was averaging under 50 total yards of offense coming into today. There was games where he hardly even got the ball at all early on in the season. At this point in the game, I'll look at his final stats later. He had over 100 yards rushing, nearly 100 yards receiving on 6 receptions. Only Ja'Cory Barney actually has more receptions on the day than Emmett for nearly 200 yards of total offense so far, and he's averaging 7.7 yards per carry. Think about this. Ja'Cory Barney, true freshman. Emmett Johnson, sophomore. Dylan Raiola, true freshman. I'm just going to throw that out there in the universe. This offense has a different attitude and a different mindset. Unfortunately, our defense allowed the Badgers to convert a 4th down on around Wisconsin's 30-yard line, then give up a 50-yard TD pass from Braden Locke. I think I mispronounced his name earlier, but Braden Locke to Vinny Anthony. And Wisconsin converts a 2-point conversion, score 37-25. Good guys. Huskers get the ball back. Nebraska scored on 5 straight drives. Well, it's about to be 6. Think about that. They scored on 6 straight drives. All right, Raiola is 27-37 passing at this point in the game, 290 total yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. And the Huskers have rushed for 175 yards so far halfway through the fourth quarter. Nebraska's next drive caps off with Dante Dowdell's 3rd rushing touchdown of the day. And Ty Robinson in at fullback, lowering the boom on Keenan Lowry of Wisconsin, leading the way for Dowdell to score on the goal line. The Huskers' 6th consecutive scoring drive. Nebraska leads 44-25. This is a season high in points for the Huskers. Don't forget, it was 14-10 at one point. When you think about the final score being, 44-25? Wisconsin's next drive ends with an INT. Nebraska ball, essentially the game is over. The Freedom Trophy is staying in Lincoln for the first time ever. Wisconsin was 9-0 with the Freedom Trophy on the line in the past. Dana Holgorsen is the man, at least so far. And this is a Wisconsin defense, think about this, that only gave up 16 points to Oregon. All right. And Emmett Johnson is the first Nebraska running back to top 100 yards in a game since Anthony Grant had 135 versus Louisiana Tech over a year ago. Also, shout out to Matt Rule. Caught a lot of heat this year from me, from others, and he decided to make what he called unique move, absolutely unprecedented move, to make the switch at OC from someone who wasn't even on staff just a few weeks ago. We got the monkey off our back from the bowl game. The burden has been lifted of a lot of streaks that I was talking about going back to 2016. A lot of those streaks now go back to 04. Okay, there were some new streaks that were continuing. The burden is lifted, the monkey's off the back, the cloud is lifted. In fairness to Matt Rule, he was kind of paying the price for the sins of Husker coaches of the past. So I wanted to give him a shout out. Ladies and gentlemen, tune in for my show tomorrow night on Sunday. Check out the website, CarrikerChronicles.com. Check out the Where Are They Now. Get up to date on Huskers of the past. Fan of the Week. Nominate your favorite fan of the week to be honored. Check out the game picks, post-game coverage, merchandise, ladies and gentlemen. And I predicted the score to be 13-10. Did you see this coming? Let me know, yes or no. Did you see this coming in any way, shape, or form? I said 13-10. Good Lord. All right. Is almost every phase of this Husker team, did it look better tonight out of the pass secondary? Yes or no? And number 3, is our pass secondary a concern at all? Yes or no? Go Big Red Nose. Remember, the